Hi, this is Pat Moorhead. Welcome to the More Insights and Strategy podcast. I'm joined by my co-hosts, Will and Matt. Hopefully, Paul will be joining us shortly. I know he was having technical difficulties, but man, it's great to see everybody. How you doing? Will, tell us about how long have you been in the country?
Well, I've been on a travel stretch for the last 2 weeks. So, Pat, you and I and Matt were at Cisco Live. And then I had a little trip to the Florida Keys, took my brother down there, went straight to Zscaler Zenith Live. I'm going to talk about that this week as well. Helping my daughter move into her apartment in Odessa, Texas over the weekend. Then I'm back out at HPE Discover. And I believe both you and Matt will be joining me there as well. So kind of crazy.
I know. I can't wait to see y'all there. I've been on the road 7 out of the last 8 weeks, so I had to stay home this week because, quite frankly, I would have just pretty much gone completely insane. Okay, let's pull Paul in and see what we got.
Right on.
And there is Paul Smith Goodson. How you doing, Paul?
Hey guys, how you doing this morning?
Good. You might want to align your face to get in the full box. That would be nice. But good to see everybody. Move a little bit. There we go. Perfect. Anyways, it's good to be here. We have a good show for you today. We are talking AMD Datacenter AI Day. Matt, I think, went to Hungary and for the EMEA Analyst Summit.
Yeah.
Cisco Live 2023. At least 3 of us were there.
Yeah.
Yep.
Zscaler Zenith Live 2023. Will's going to give us the breakdown on that. Paul is going to be talking about his favorite subject. Well, actually, maybe he has 2: AI and quantum.
Yeah,
and I'm talking about DevOps, and I actually had to contact Paul and say, "Are you sure DevOps and quantum in the same sentence?"
Oh, interesting.
Hey, listen, it's coming up.
Probably getting real, And then we're going to talk about catastrophic AI events. What to do? We saved that for last. I always like scare tactics. They're some of my favorites. But hey, let's dive in. Matt, what's going on? What happened with what's going on with AMD?
Oh man, they are on a roll, aren't they? I mean, can you slow these guys down?
I don't know, but there are companies in AI that seem to be going a little bit quicker. But I don't want to take any credit away from what they're doing on the server side.
Yeah, let me go on the server side. They are on the server side. They're certainly on a roll. So, they released their Genoa product back. I guess it was about 3 months ago. 96 core part. Fantastic performance numbers. Great adoption out in the marketplace. And this past Tuesday, they had their Data Center and AI Day where they announced the availability of Bergamo, which is, I like to think of it as an ARM compete. 128 cores. They pulled down the core size, I think 35%, so they shrunk it quite a bit, still on a 5 nanometer, still with a lot of memory. PCIe 5 didn't defeature the platform at all, but added a whole bunch of cores. And you wonder, like, where is this thing going, right? What are they doing? Because, they're in the x86 space. Well, here's the story, right? ARM has made a lot of play in the cloud space, right? We've got Graviton at AWS. Ampere is in every other major cloud provider right now in the US and elsewhere. And it's definitely a threat that both AMD and Intel are seeing. So this was I believe this is AMD's response. Great story. I actually, this to me is more about AMD's posture than it is about a product, right? In years past, or in the few years past, AMD would have kind of I don't know that they would have really responded to this threat, but they've become very aggressive in understanding where their plays are and being protective against those plays. So while the technology is great, while I believe this is going to land well inside of the cloud data center, I'm more impressed with the approach that AMD's taken to the market. That's part one. Part two is Genoa X, or as I like to call it, Gen X, because that sounds cool because I'm a Gen Xer.
The
We all are, my friend.
people.
Yeah.
The latchkey kids.
Yeah.
That's all right. but I'm not bitter about it. But Genoa X is a build on what they introduced with Milan X, which is their 3D V cache, right? Stacking cache up on top of the chip instead of taking up more real estate. Does two things: allows you to pack more cache inside of a package size, but also increases performance. The way the cache is layered, the substrates they use, and the distance makes it better performing. So with Genoa, I think their L3 cache gets up to, it's over a gig worth of L3 cache. So your technical performance, fluid dynamic kind of workloads are going to perform very well on this. So this, to me, this kind of further separates them and continues to build that differentiation on the high performance side. Those are the two big things. I know you did a lot, Pat, on the AI side. I didn't know if you wanted to hit on that at all. Or
Yeah, I do. Well, first off, it's kind of AMD was in a tough position where here they had all this epic goodness, right? They were doing victory lap on the first element of 4th gen,
Yeah.
and then they were bringing out the Vcache version for HPC and the many core version to really compete with Ampere, right? Where I think the cores are the cores are 40% smaller.
Yeah.
And that includes cache, and there's got to be something else if you're going to reduce it. If you're going to reduce it that quickly,
yeah.
But no, I view this as the beginning of AMD's data center AI push. And I knew you were going to cover the Ep6 side, so I covered the AI piece. But I think it was a good first showing, and I think net, I do believe that the company is committed to competing with both NVIDIA and Intel. And I think the GPU goodness of it, because the models and the frameworks are all over the place, gives GPUs an advantage. GPUs are not the most efficient and low power. In fact, the ASICs are, and that's where a lot of the upstarts are putting their investments in there. But I do believe that AMD is going to get traction. They've been working on ROCm, I think, for close to a decade.
That's right.
I cited a white paper that we published 7 years ago on ROCm, the software stack, which, by the way, competes with NVIDIA's CUDA. But I'm convinced more than ever, partially because the hyperscalers they need some hegemony in supply chain. And they don't want to have one option out there to go through. So they're kind of left with, hey, do I keep single sourcing from NVIDIA? Do I create my own accelerators like Inferentia, Trainium, and what Meta just cranked out, which, by the way, are ASICs, not GPUs, so they're not as flexible? Or do I lean into an AMD or an Intel? Well, I think they're going to do all three at the same time, right? So if you're Meta and you got a big recommendation engine, it makes sense to build an ASIC to just do that. But you're still going to need GPUs, I'm convinced, for the next 5 years.
Yeah, and Pat, one of the things I really like about what they've done, and it's easy to get caught up in the moment of what NVIDIA is doing and the and kind of the play they have. But when you look at the kind of at a higher level, right, and it's all about data, moving data, processing data, transforming data. You've got EPYC, you've got the GPU lineup, you've got what they bought with Xilinx, you've got what with Xilinx, what you got what they bought with Pensando. Yeah, and they have all of the pieces right brought together for the movement, for the processing, for the transformation, and for the crunching of data. I think they're really well positioned. It's going to take time for all these pieces to come together more cohesively, but they're all there, and I trust what Lisa's doing, and Forrest and team.
I'll add a little bit on the Pensando. So I was pre-briefed ahead of their announcement on their next generation DPU, and I continue to be really impressed. So it's been about a year since AMD acquired Pensando, and their initial design win was with Aruba, who I spent a lot of time with as well. But I continue to be very impressed with how they're really driving the performance and the power envelope, and also the fact that they've developed a full software stack to support their DPU
Yeah.
unlike, Marvell as an example. So, again, that was such a great acquisition for AMD. And, Matt, to your point, really sort of rounds out what they're doing in the data center.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be tough. I mean, listen, NVIDIA worked on CUDA for 12 years plus when I was at AMD.
Yeah.
But I think, nobody wants to have one vendor making 70 points, not just on chips,
Right.
but on cards. And oh, by the way, on servers.
And
Make
system,
70
yeah,
points on
that's right.
servers.
That's right.
Nobody. And that's exactly what DGX can. And by the way, if you believe what Lisa Su said, which says the market's 30 billion now, moving to 150 billion in 4 years, even if AMD gets 20% or 10% of that market share, NVIDIA is still going to fly, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So it's not just a winner take all. And anybody who thinks it's winner take all is just a fool. Doesn't have the experience that they need. Hey, let's move forward because Matt has to go to the dentist.
Yes.
I'd like to be a dentist. Okay, Lenovo, you went to Hungary.
Yes.
EMEA, tell us all about it. What happened?
And I left Hungary, but so EMEA.
Dad joke.
I know.
Ooh, still pretty
that's
good.
My dog. I'm sorry.
It's all good.
And so
we love dogs on the podcast.
We love dogs, and he's a happy dog. Hey, come here, Wally. So anyway, EMEA Analyst Summer. First off, Budapest is a beautiful city. Great people, great culture, all that neat stuff. So here are my 3 big takeaways from the EMEA Summit. First off, anybody who thinks of Lenovo from 5 years ago or 4 years ago needs to pull their head out of the sand. This company is doing so much across so many different fronts. When you look at the growth they've had in the server space, they're number 3 in servers right now. I think they're number 4 in storage. They are legitimately there in the U.S. and North America, in Europe, and around the world. That was my kind of big high level takeaway. But they focused on 3 areas: security. You're going to be shocked. Security, AI, and sustainability. Right? Yeah.
Boy, that sounds familiar.
Yes. Who would have thunk? Right? So novel. But I mean, look, everybody is talking about it. You have to have your voice. I actually walked away from there being a little bit amazed at what they have done on the security front. There are companies that are out there and do a great job of telling the story around security, server companies, and companies that do a great job of implementing technology. And they've all done a great job, and they all have their own value add. But Lenovo looks at security in kind of 3 different ways, right? There's supply chain. How do you secure your supply chain, assure that it's secure? There is operations. How do you deliver and make sure that your business processes are fully secure to not introduce any threats? And that all leads into the third thing, which is technology, right? We talk about platform rooted trust. We talk about attestation, so on and so forth. They've done an amazing job, and they've gone through so much scrutiny over the last few years, over the last 10 years or so, that it has really hardened their security posture. I actually did a Forbes piece, which I think will go live on Monday, on kind of what they've done around security. It's worth taking a look at. It's not to pump up viewership of my article, but it really there's another piece going on.
Well, yeah. I mean, I'm shameless when it comes to that, Matt. You should.
All right. Well, go ahead and read. But it does I think it brings a lot of light to what they've done around the security side. That's the first thing. Second is AI and kind of the movement they've made. They've invested a lot of money. They had an announcement this week, the SR675 AMD based with NVIDIA H100s. They did some smart edge platforms, but they talked about the practical use of AI and how they've stood up AI out in the real world. And while I can't give names, they essentially there are sectors that they essentially own from an edge and a smart edge perspective. Retail and fast food are 2 of them, a food service. You can't go into any restaurant or any fast food restaurant without looking down at the kiosk and seeing a Lenovo logo, it seems. Or the major
they've kind of blown NCR and IBM out of the water.
They really have. And that's all AI driven. You think about cameras that are lit up that see cars coming through and recognize the driver and know that that person loves French fries, so drop an extra bin down. I mean, they had great stories around what they're doing on the AI front, but they have a very cohesive and kind of cohesive and holistic, I guess the same thing, view of AI and how they're standing it up. And I love to hear about their partnerships and how they're standing up the ecosystem. Third thing is sustainability. My big takeaway is us in the U.S., while we talk about it a lot, we aren't doing anything compared to EMEA. My gosh, when you go into a hotel and you can't turn your thermostat down below 23 degrees Celsius, you're in for a long stay. Here in the U.S., I have it down to like 52. But they talk about sustainability in many, many ways and kind of how they're enabling that. It becomes a pillar of everything they do. And even through TrueScale, they talk about TrueScale as a economic part of it, right? Driving down cost, agility aspect to it, right? Being able to do things faster, but also sustainability, right? Getting more workloads on, starting to actually drive up utilization of resources so that your carbon footprint goes down. So really great story. I'm kind of excited to see what they're going to do here in the next couple of years on the AI front and how they're going to start telling that story to the broader audience. Because my one criticism is they don't tell their story enough, right? They have all these, it's their greatest kept secret. They do all these great things, but they don't really kind of amplify that message out into the marketplace a lot.
Yeah. So on the AI stuff, I know that in the show notes, so Lenovo did a press release talking about what they're doing in, by the way, Matt, do you need to leave?
I do. Yeah. I'm sorry.
All right. Hey, great to see you. Maybe next time, right? You can schedule doctor's appointments that aren't on during the podcast. But
I know. I'm so sorry.
No, we take analysts seriously here, and we appreciate them and more insights and strategy. We want them to be very healthy. So, thank you.
Well, wish me luck. I'm going to be filled with nitrous oxide in about 15 minutes. So
that's fun. Do they do carry out by chance?
I'm hoping. I'm going to ask about it.
All right. Take care. Thanks, Matt. But anyways, the what I wanted to add on Lenovo was that, first of all, everybody wants to get their AI mojo and magic and get their stock price going. Yeah. The cool part is that Lenovo bought real numbers, right? $2 billion in AI sales, and also kind of talked about their lineage the past 7 years. Now, albeit when they started, it was really HPC, not AI. And I've had many debates and discussions on this. But here's the cool part is they did come out and say, hey, we have the most comprehensive platform. And I'm like, can I ask a question about that? That's a pretty bold statement.
That is.
What's the basis? And to their credit, Lenovo showed me, right, hey, here's the amount of AI platforms we have all the way from the server to the edge. In comparison to the competition, it looked accurate. And so I do think from the amount of platforms and the breadth, Lenovo does have the most comprehensive AI platforms out there. So keep it coming, analysts. We love numbers. And anyways, let's move to something really different. What cartoon is that? Is that was it one Underdog or something? Let's move to Cisco Live 2023. Pat, Matt, and Will. We're there. Will, what's happening?
Yeah. So a lot to sort of deconstruct. I wrote a Forbes article. Go hit @WillTownTech or our firm's Twitter handle as well, and you can read more about it. But Pat, I know you were there, and you're going to sort of talk about your big takeaways. But for me, there were two really big things. One was security. Shocking, right? Matt was talking about how that was a focus for Lenovo as well. But this is an area that Cisco has sort of half-stepped over the years. But, it was really amazing. I don't know. I'm sure you picked up on this in the keynotes. I mean, including Chuck and his ELT, everyone talked about security. Jonathan Davidson, Jeetu Patel, Liz and Tony. And this is a real big focus for the company. And if you look at last quarter's earnings, there was only 2% growth in security for Cisco. So there's a lot of headroom for Cisco here. So in supporting that, there were several announcements, one around a secure access solution. what I like about that, it supports legacy VPN as well as zero trust. They have a firewall product that I believe finally they have a firewall product that sort of meets the rest of the competition. They have a multi-cloud defense solution as well. And then finally, something that I was involved in, I worked with Cisco to write sort of an explainer around cloud native application protection platforms. And they use that as a launching point for Panoptica. Their CWPP solution that they're moving more towards a holistic CNAPP solution. So a lot around security. This fits really well within Tom Gillis, his return to Cisco and the focus on a security cloud. I did spend time with Tom and the team, and there's more to come. And what they're really focused on is they're not going to be all things to all people, but what they hope to do is put together, several security solutions that address, a good majority of customer need, because we are seeing this consolidation with security tool sprawl. Customers are kind of coming back to front and center. They're not necessarily going to standardize on one platform, but moving from 40 to maybe half a dozen is better. And so Cisco's very focused on that. So that's my big security take. The other big news in my coverage area was around their enterprise networking portfolio. And one of the challenges that Cisco's had has been most of their growth over the last several years has been through acquisition versus organic roadmap development. And so as a result, they've collected brands over the years, like Viptela, like Meraki, like AppDynamics, like Thousand Eyes. And so one of the big announcements at Cisco Live 2023 U.S. was around their announcement of a simplification strategy. And so they're going to lean into initially Meraki and Catalyst. So the Viptela brand is going to go away. They're also doing some things from an automation standpoint to sort of clean that up. And that's been one of my criticisms, because through all those acquisitions, Cisco has acquired 2 or 3 different automation tools. And so there is an effort that's underway to sort of centralize from an API perspective what they do with automation and be a little more uniform across the entire networking stack. They were very transparent and honest about this. This isn't going to be an overnight transition for them. This is likely a 3 to 5 year journey for Cisco. But I think it's time that they did this, because I believe at the end of the day, if they can simplify the portfolio, they're going to make it easier for their partners to sell their solutions and easier for their customers to consume their solutions. So that's my hot take.
No, it's a great take. And I think I'm going to focus on the company's strategy. So by looking at, when you look at their financials, they're very much a networking company still, right? If you look at the 2 elements of that, but that I don't think is a weakness, because when you're pushing over the last 5 years, minimum gross margins were 61% and maximum gross margins were 65%. It's a really good business, right?
Yeah.
Especially because for the most part on the core switch, they held off, they held their position, right? So in a way, they're really only being challenged at the edge, right? By folks like Aruba, and not that folks like Arista and Extreme and Juniper aren't selling a lot. They're just not nearly selling anything near what Cisco is. And what I like about it is that, okay, they're using this core strength that they have in networking, and then they're really addressing two separate things. First of all, making money in the hybrid multi-cloud, and then simplification, just like you said, Will.
Yeah.
And it's taking security, observability, and networking cloud, and being able to make money regardless of where the compute sits, right?
Mm-hmm.
Taking a toll, whatever you want to call that. And for observability and security, people are sick of the complexity, right? They want more of an easy button. And in security, as you know, Will, this is your swim lane.
Yeah.
There's 2 ways you can approach this. You've got best of breed over here that needs integration. And let's say you've got 50 software packages in the enterprise. You have to integrate that. Or those best of breed are part of a network, a security network. Palo Alto Networks has one of these. Well, hey, they've got multiple vendors that are plugged in with APIs. You can share the data, and it's not as hard to take full advantage of it. Or you go with kind of a full stack that's from Cisco and Microsoft. And I think best of breed will continue, and I think in reaction to what folks like Cisco and Microsoft are doing, we'll have to have more data sharing alliances and ways to make things easier. I got pre-briefed by a company this week, a big company that is coming up with a solution to how to string best of breed packages together.
Oh, cool.
Ooh, I'll let you know in a few minutes.
Love it.
Anyways, let's move forward. I'm going to call an audible here just so we don't pull Will on the hot seat forever. Paul, we're going to go to you for quantum DevOps. And like I said before, it was pretty crazy that we'd be talking about DevOps in the context of quantum, because some people are saying, ooh, quantum's like 10 years away. What's going on here, Paul? Are we getting close?
Well, first of all, I want to let you know something. Can you see me okay?
You're coming in slow.
I've been pretending to see you for the last 30 minutes here. I'm staring at a black screen. My computer has gone out. So I'm trying to be attentive and
let the show go on.
Black screen.
Yeah, you've done a great job. My guess is it's probably a VPN or something.
Yeah, I don't know if you're looking at half of my face or all of it.
Oh, that's why. Okay, I wondered what was going on. I've been sending you messages for the past hour, like, get in the middle, get in. But hey, let's power through this, man.
Yeah. I thought I'd make it entertaining and just kind of keep you on your toes there.
It's very entertaining.
I think quantum. We're getting some signals in quantum that things are looking up. So I think that it's going to start getting busy in some of the data centers and with the developers working on workflows and various things, because I'm sure you saw that story on IBM and what they did with error correction. They came, they did beat a supercomputer in some instances, but they came very close to it. IBM thinks that they're going to get a program going here where they're trying to get people to concentrate on using 100 qubits and 100 gates deep. And they think that there may be a chance of someone doing some pretty good work on quantum advantage. And I think they're right, because it was amazing stuff they did with that little 127 qubit Eagle processor. They produced some of the longest quantum circuits ever run. So that's something in itself. And they essentially had like a back and forth going between the Eagle processor and the supercomputer. And when things got tough for the supercomputer, the little Eagle processor and error mitigation just kept cranking along. So it's looking pretty good.
Yeah, and IonQ brought out something too, didn't they?
Yes, they did. Yeah, IonQ's been doing a lot of work on quantum machine learning, and that's really a ripe area for quantum because it's pretty native to quantum anyway. And IonQ's even looking at doing some working on QML. They've been working on it for about a year for artificial general intelligence at that level. So I think we're going to see exciting stuff. JP Morgan.
Yeah, it's not just it's not even just the technology providers. It's folks like JP Morgan Chase as well.
Yeah, JP Morgan Chase and QC Ware did some really interesting things, and it's not uncommon with quantum machine learning. But they took an old classical algorithm that JP Morgan Chase had worked on deep hedging. And there happened to be a bottleneck and kind of in the middle of that. As you know, classical stuff can only do like one thing at a time. So they were looking at futures for the hedging algorithm, but they can only do a few at a time. So it's pretty slow. So JP Morgan Chase and QC Ware replaced that bottleneck within that algorithm with quantum, and with probability distribution. Quantum can see a lot of different futures at the same time. So that improved it quite a bit. So I think finance, in fact, may be one of the early breakouts. So
Yeah,
Well,
Paul, I
great.
totally
It's
agree with
exciting.
you. I mean, it's quite simple. Like, uh-oh, not hearing what you're saying, Paul. But let's we're going to bounce over to Will to talk about Zscaler Zenith Live. That's a mouthful, Will.
That is a mouthful, and I'm just coming off a red eye with about an hour and a
Yeah,
half
you
of
are.
sleep from Viva Las Vegas. So I'm going to keep it brief because I am working on a Forbes contribution that we'll be posting early next week that sort of summarizes my insights. But it was a great event. I was there for 2 full days and got to spend time with Jay Chaudhry, who's the CEO of Zscaler, and some of his executive leadership team, and really get a feel for where the company is headed. And if you're not familiar with Zscaler, they operate the largest security cloud on the planet. They process over 300 billion transactions a day. And I was told by one of Jay's leadership team members that that exceeds the daily search on Google. So,
What?
yeah,
What?
yeah. So, I mean, I'm going to try to audit that and verify that. But, they've been doing this for 14 years now. And, what's amazing is just the flow of information that they're processing and the threats that they're blocking and how they're leaning into that architecture to develop adjacent value for their customers. And so they announced several products, no surprise. They also announced 3 preview solutions that are leveraging generative AI. Jay is very bullish on the potential for generative AI, just like I think every other infrastructure provider on the planet is these days. But what is interesting, and I think what you're going to see happen with Zscaler, obviously their focus is on cybersecurity, and ensuring that they're providing a very, very effective and robust solution with things like Zscaler Internet Access, Zscaler Private Access. But they're also looking beyond that to determine, with all of that information that flows through their platform, can they provide additional adjacent value? For example, with business risk assessment, they did announce a Risk 360 product that's very cybersecurity focused, that allows companies to basically score themselves and use that data, use that score to lower their cybersecurity insurance premiums. But what I think is really interesting is that they're taking that architecture, and there's nothing in production right now, but one of the teams that's focused on emerging technologies there sort of took me through how they can apply some of this to extend the functionality beyond cybersecurity. So really kind of my thought is, they're putting the smart into zero trust, and there'll be more to come next week with my article.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it, Will. And again, appreciate you coming in and doing it. You have to hang in there for like 5 more minutes. Can you do that?
I can do that, Pat.
Okay, or just take a nap on that couch behind.
I might.
And we can go from there. Hey, Paul, can you hear us?
I can hear you.
All right.
Okay. All right, man. I knew this was going to be a fun one. Let's go into catastrophic AI events. Paul, I mean, you come up with the best descriptions that what's going on here?
Hey, listen, I'm convinced that it's possible that we could have a catastrophic AI event at some point in the future. The problem is I was thinking about writing about catastrophic AI events and how they happen and how you would handle it. And I started looking for resources, and there aren't very many resources. There's a lot of stuff on, what you can do with AI. And
what do you mean by a catastrophic AI event? You mean like AI goes crazy and
like Terminator,
taking everything?
Like Terminator, Skynet.
AI goes crazy, or AI causes a huge event that results in a lot of financial damage to a company. If you think about it, there's millions and millions of people using GPT and various large language models right now, and people can't use anything without thinking about a lawsuit. So if something goes wrong, then that may be catastrophic to a person, or it could be catastrophic to a company.
Yeah. So what should we be doing? What are the resources that you found?
Well, the two biggest resources I found were a paper by UC Berkeley and one by NIST, and they're both very comprehensive. The UC Berkeley intent on the paper that they wrote is to kind of help NIST out in terms of organizing resources and material for evaluating a risk, trying to determine, how big it is and if it exists and how it happened and that type of thing, and resources to kind of get things straightened out. So both of those are really good papers. So I would, if anybody's looking to organize some material on just getting prepared, I would suggest starting off with those two. But it would be a good idea for companies to start looking at how they're going to handle things in the future when something goes off the rail. It could be intentional or unintentional.
Paul, everything you bring to the show is very interesting. And I also love that you bring real research papers from academics. Here's the one from Berkeley, and here's the one from NIST, and those will be in the show notes. So if you are scared of a cataclysmic AI event happening, you should check these out and protect yourself. But I do want to remind everybody, this show is for entertainment and educational purposes only. Don't take anything we said as investment advice, or, I don't know, don't sue me for anything we've said on catastrophic AI events either, please. I would appreciate that. In fact, my recommendation is for you nobody to use AI. Just kidding.
Yeah, let me add one thing here, Pat. I was on a call this morning with the IBM developers that are working on Watson-X, and people might look at governance as some issue that they may not have to be concerned about. But IBM has put a lot of work into Watson-X governance, and they've made it their product a very safe product and trustworthy. And I would certainly encourage people to, at least look at some type of governance product.
No, I appreciate that. That's sage advice, particularly if you're a regulated industry, government, defense, all those good things. Yeah. So, hey guys, we made it. We talked about a bunch of companies: AMD, Lenovo, Cisco, Zscaler. We're talking quantum DevOps, AI, catastrophic events. That's a lot of different content. We lost one analyst along the way. We gained one. And, Paul can't see what we're seeing. So appreciate him muscling through that. And Will, thank you for coming in on your red eye. I mean, I don't think I would do that. So hats off to you, baby. Thanks, commitment to this podcast. So what shows do you guys have coming up? I know we talked a little bit about, we're all going to go to HPE Discover. And then with some freaking miracle, I'm supposed to be in Austin for 3 straight weeks.
Wow. I think that's going to end up being the case for me as well. And I'm after this 3 weeks travel stretch, I'm definitely looking forward to it. But then things start heating up for me. And, August, September, I've got potentially spending time with Rakuten in Tokyo, in London for Connected Britain. And that 5G Techratory event, Pat, that I'm still waiting to get my key to the city of Riga, Latvia in October. So my fall's looking very busy, but hey, I love what I do. I love to write, and it's a dream job here, with you and the More Insights and Strategy team.
Paul, any big events on the horizon for you?
I'm probably going to AWS next month. Maybe a couple of IEEE shows. Awesome. A couple of private customer events that I'll be working on. And any event that comes up in Las Vegas, I'll go to it.
There we go.
I'll start sending you to mine, Paul.
Yeah. Paul, you need to put that quantum to use at the crap tables. So and Will, I'm looking to the future too. I'll be in Vegas at Splunks. .conference, and I'm going to be visiting Korea for a week. That's South Korea, in case you were wondering.
Okay, good. Glad you clarified that, man.
Yeah, hitting Seattle the week after, and then VMware Explorer's coming up in Vegas.
Yeah.
Google Cloud next in my favorite city of San Francisco. I will have my own personal security guards down there in the travel district, and then I'm going to pretend to take off some time in Colorado, which I don't actually ever really do very well. So, anyways, we want to thank everybody for tuning in, and I want to thank all the analysts for. Everyone had kind of a challenge this time in one way, shape, or form, but we muscled through it. Give us feedback. Give me all the positive feedback to @Patrick Moorhead. Give Will all the ways we can improve to @Willtown Tech or More Quantum. We appreciate you. If you like what you heard, hit that subscribe button, and we'll see you in 2 weeks. Take care. God bless.